what's up everyone? My name is Untamed Mando. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel. We are talking more Star Wars today, specifically Ahoska. Apparently some canon has been changed, some lore has been changed, and as I've stated in my other videos regarding Ahoska and this series, we kind of knew that, but Screen Rant has a new perspective to give us today. So let's dive right into that article and hope that I don't have an aneurysm. Let's go. Screen Rant. Star Wars rewrites Mandalorian history in a single line. Oh my god. And we see the Darksaber, which in season 3 of Mandalorian, if you remember, was basically reduced to nothing because you could just crush it in your hands and it just meant nothing. No one cared about it. It was just a throwaway item that nobody cared about. But that's just my opinion. Oh no. Oh no, this is going to be one of those articles, isn't it? The history of Mandalorians has been rewritten by Star Wars in just a single line. Yes, but there have been other reasons that this has been rewritten, and y'all understand. If you are new to my channel, I apologize. You're about to get a lot of ranting because my name is Untamed Mando. If you could not tell from my name alone, I really enjoy the Mandalorian culture in Star Wars. I have liked it since before Disney purchased Star Wars. I have liked it not as much since Disney purchased Star Wars. I love the Mandos. They are my people. I am their people. And I hate what Disney continues to do with Mandalorians through Sabine's character. And if you have watched any of my other reviews on Ahoska, you'll understand my frustration. But I digress. The rivalry between Jedi and Mandalorians has long since been known about, as they have gone to war with each other on multiple occasions. The Jedi were even referred to as enemy sorcerers by Din Djarin in The Mandalorian when the Armorer gave him a quick history lesson about the two groups. Less than amicable history. Mandalorian armor and many of their weapons were designed specifically to withstand these wars with the Jedi, though the Order came out on top because of Revan. If you'll know, the last great war with the Mandalorians was only won because of Revan, and Revan is like very... He's a well above Jedi. They were losing the war until Revan came along, but I digress. Despite this long-running history, it was revealed that there was a Mandalorian who once became a Jedi. Tar Vizsla, the creator of the Darksaber, is the only Mandalorian Jedi that Star Wars history has previously spoken of. First mentioned in Star Wars Rebels, Tar Vizsla has since become a figurehead for anyone who wields the weapon he so carefully crafted, until season 3 of Mandalorian, where it's just crushed in Moff Gideon's hand and it's just kind of thrown out like yesterday's trash. Many viewers speculated that Grogu would become the second Mandalorian Jedi, but with him becoming strictly a Mandalorian apprentice of his adopted father Din, Sabine, serving as Ahsoka's Jedi Padawan, makes her the runner-up of that title. Ahsoka Episode 3, however, has revealed that Tar Vizsla was not the only Mandalorian Jedi before Sabine, which has up to this point not been proven, and has since also not been proven. Just because Hu Yang says it doesn't make it canon, in my opinion. Granted, I don't consider a lot of Disney Star Wars canon, but that's another video. Let me know if you want me to make that video. Hu Yang hints there have been other Mandalorian Jedi, which up until this point in time could not have happened because of the wars between the Mandalorians and the Jedi. And if a Mandalorian did become a Jedi, they were a Mandalorian first, and if there was a war that broke out, they would choose the Mandos. Hu Yang tells Ahsoka and Sabine in Ahsoka Episode 3 that few Mandalorians have ever become Jedi. Few does not always mean more than one. It could just mean one. But hey, what do I know? I know nothing, apparently. A statement that indicates there have been more than just Tar Vizsla. This is a brand new concept to the history of the Mandalorians, as no others have ever been identified as Jedi. It also implies that Mandalorian Jedi have wielded blades other than the Darksaber. You're inferring a lot. There's a lot being inferred here. I'm just gonna say. Since the lineage of that weapon has already been determined, being crushed in Moff Gideon's hand, with no other Mandalorian Jedi on its list, these other Mandalorians would have then had lightsabers of their own, which, if we remember in Rebels, Sabine Wren was the actual wielder of the Darksaber before she handed it off to Bo-Katan, so Sabine was technically supposed to be the one to inherit the Darksaber, and she is technically supposed to be Mandalore because she fought and won the Darksaber in combat, and she did not, like, Bo-Katan should not have been given the Darksaber. The Darksaber is supposed to be won in combat, but Rebels was like, you know what? It's fine, Bo-Katan. You've fought long enough. Here you go. And then she ends up losing it. I love Bo-Katan. Don't get me wrong. She's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, but not the best choice right now. Like, she's not looking great as far as season 3 of Mandalorian. But you know what? That's just me. That's just me. With no other Mandalorian Jedi on this list, these other Mandalorians would have then had lightsabers of their own crafted in the traditional way of the Jedi, would they now? While weapons as important as the Darksaber are an essential part of Mandalorian religion, Hu Yang's words go beyond the impact of mere swords. Yep. How Mandalorian Jedi rewrite the history of Star Wars. Because why not? It's not like the history of Star Wars has already been rewritten and cannibalized and taken apart and re-stitched together to look like a Frankenstein of its former self. There have been instances of these two warring groups coming together more often than previously indicated, something that makes the timeline of Mandalorian history even more complicated in regard to their relations with the Jedi. While the Jedi have been referred to as ancient enemies of the Mandalorian, the existence of more Mandalorian Jedi implies that there have also been allies between these two groups. If you have seen Star Wars: The Old Republic, you will know that this is true. There are times when the Mandalorians have allied with Jedi because the Sith Empire needed to be brought down. Doesn't mean that they were Jedi. It just means they allied with them. But that's... Whether or not they came before Tar Vizsla is yet unknown, but it would be interesting to see if any of these Mandalorian Jedi existed during the period of war between the Mandalorians and the Jedi. I highly doubt that because the Mandalorians would choose Mandalore over Jedi because it is part of your DNA. When Mandalore calls, you answer. And if you don't, you are no longer considered Mandalorian. You are considered Dar Mando, which means non-Mando. It means you turned your back on the Mandalorian culture, which I am considering Sabine as a Dar Mando right now. And if you understand Mandalorian culture, you'll understand that is the worst offense that you can be given. That is saying that you are lower than dirt. You are nothing you are nothing anymore. This is plausible, however, given some of the alliances seen between Jedi and Mandalorians in other Star Wars media. There's no doubting the closeness between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Satine Kryze that came as a result of the Jedi being trusted to protect her, a decision that would have required immense trust between the two groups. Which, if you remember, Satine Kryze was a pacifist. She was not liked in most of Mandalore culture because she was the first pacifist ruler of Mandalore ever, and nobody liked it. Nobody liked it. Ahsoka herself has also worked closely with Bo-Katan Kryze and Din Djarin, two very different Mandalorians who still consider her to be a trusted ally, and vice versa. For every instance of distrust between the Mandalorians and Jedi, there have also been instances of faith, and these unknown Mandalorian Jedi have only added to the latter part of that history. I don't think it does. I don't think it adds anything. To be honest, I think it just makes the timeline more confused, and it just makes people who don't know anything about Mandalorian culture just more confused, and I don't think it's good for Star Wars. I don't think it's good at all. I think that this is a bad move that Disney has done. My culture, my people! As Sabine continues her training in Ahsoka, viewers will get a better idea of what the other Mandalorian Jedi might have been. No, you don't. In episode 4, you get none of that. Sabine just just wimps out. She is not a Mandalorian in this season of Ahsoka. She's not her rebel self. It's really upsetting when you know what she went through, what she had to fight, who she was as a person, and to see her in episode like in Ahsoka is just heart-wrenching. And there we go. I'm gonna just, yeah. While Sabine once wielded the Darksaber, she gave it up to Bo-Katan many years before the events of this Star Wars series. Thus, she will join the group of Mandalorian Jedi who instead wield a lightsaber of their own. No, she does not have access to the Force. Whether or not Ahsoka knew about these past Mandalorian Jedi is unknown, though she seemed to imply to Din in the book of Boba Fett that one could not be both a Padawan and a foundling. As Sabine's Jedi training develops in Ahsoka, she could join the group of Mandalorian Jedi that has just grown from one individual to a rare few others. No, you cannot be a Padawan and a foundling. You must choose, because with the Jedi, you have to have your loyalty to the Jedi Order and the Jedi Order alone. You cannot have other alliance. Like, you cannot have other allegiance to anything else other than the Jedi Order. And the same goes for the Mandalorians. If Mandalore calls, you answer. You are loyal to Mandalore and Mandalore alone. These two religions are diametrically opposed. You have to have a loyalty to one or the other, and it seems in Ahsoka, Sabine's loyalty is not to her Mandalorian roots. It is to the Jedi Order. She is no longer considered a Mandalorian as far as the Mandalorian's creed, the Mandalorian's teaching. She does not wear her armor for most of the season. She does not give herself, she does not present herself as a warrior. This is not what Mandalorian culture was about. She is not going to be considered a Mandalorian, and I refuse to say she's a Mandalorian Jedi. She's turned her back on all of her Mandalorian teachings. In this most recent episode, she did a little bit of the pew-pews. She had her armor on, but she was smacked into a tree and her helmet fell off. We've seen so many Mandalorian warriors do in the same, like, they get smacked hard, their helmets don't fall off. I'm sorry. I know there are so many people who love Ahsoka, and there are so many people who think that Star Wars is saved. No, it's not. The simple fact that the Mandalorian culture in Star Wars is being disrespected in the way that it is, like, no, it's not. It's not okay. And I don't consider Sabine a Mandalorian anymore. I consider who this person is in Ahsoka. I don't consider her Sabine. And I'm going to do a Jake Skywalker. The sequel trilogy had what they called Luke Skywalker. It was not Luke Skywalker. That the decisions that he made, his personality, everything that Luke Skywalker was about, this person in the sequel trilogy was not about. Dave Filoni is a fraud, or he has lost his way. Because this Sabine that we have, which he wrote, this was one of his characters. Rebels was a product of his imagination. Sabine would not just willingly give a map to somebody to bring Thrawn back, just because Ezra might possibly be with Thrawn and come back. We don't even know if any of them are alive. We don't know if Ezra's alive. We don't know if Thrawn's alive. We don't know any of that. And she's willing to risk the entire galaxy on one person who may or may not be alive. A Mandalorian would not do that. This is unacceptable. I know I've ranked Ahsoka as one of the better Star Wars shows, and it is. It's by far one of the better shows. But the fact that they have, like, I understand what they ruined Obi-Wan Kenobi's character. They made him basically a weak, useless man. Sabine is this weak, useless teenager that's angry at the world because her boo thing had to sacrifice himself so the world didn't die. And she just threw everything he did, his whole sacrifice, she threw it away. He sacrificed himself to make sure Thrawn didn't come back. She just gave Thrawn's friends the map to bring him back. She wouldn't have done that because Ezra would not have wanted her to do that. And she knows that's not what Ezra would have wanted. I can't believe, like, I can because I've seen Mandalorian season 3. I've seen it. And they break their own canon in the same episode. Why is it that they keep messing up The Mandalorian? I get it's Jon Favreau's brainchild, but, like, why do you have to, like, just gut the Mandalorians? Like, leave them. If you don't like them, leave them alone. They don't have to be in Star Wars. You can do all of your Star Wars stuff without touching the Mandalorian culture. I know a lot of people are probably not going to care about Mandalorian culture in Star Wars as much as I do. And I understand that. And that's fine. You can have your opinion. But it just makes me sad that something that I love continues to be gutted and defamed and just looked down on. There's no reason for it. Dave Filoni, you created some amazing characters with Clone Wars and Rebels. And to see you, the creator of these characters, just gutting them, making them hollow versions of themselves. Sure, she kind of looks like Sabine. Sure, she has the haircut. But that's not Sabine. Sabine wouldn't take off her armor just because she felt like it. Being a Mandalorian means you wear your armor. If you are going into battle, if you are fighting for a cause, you wear your armor at all times. Maybe not your helmet, but you wear your armor. Because you don't know when some enemy could sneak onto your ship and get you. And this happens multiple times in this series with Ahsoka. We see Sabine caught with her pants off. Her pants down. It's an expression, not literally. And she looks basically useless. She's supposed to be at least 30-something years old in this series. A warrior who has fought in the rebellion for Star Wars for years upon years upon years. She is a hardened Mandalorian warrior. And we see her pouting in a tower, upset because her boyfriend got lost. And she's given up on the world. That's not my Sabine. That's not my Mandalorian gal. She can be yours, but she's not mine. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm sorry that it kind of ended on a little bit of a down note, but it makes me sad. Like, why'd you have to do that to my girl? Why can't you just make her the way she was supposed to be? So, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you think that this is really good, please let me know. If you think that I missed something or that there's a good reason why Sabine should be this way, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. Good or bad, neutral. I want to know. I want to be more educated. So, you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.